Happy holidays from the normal men. We are in the shoulder season between the Saturnalia celebrations and the end of the calendar year, and we have brought in our good friend golikehellmachine to do another mailbag episode. So golikehellmachine, welcome. We're glad to have you, buddy.
Hey guys, how are you? How are all of your holidays?
No real complaints from me. It was just the three of us here in Charlotte this year, which was kind of a nice break from family stuff. So that was good. What about y'all?
Mine was great, man. I had the in-laws came down for Christmas, and they're fun. I get along well with them. So we had a full house. The 3 dogs we've had for the last several months, which are the in-laws' dogs, and various other collateral relatives from my wife's side of the family. And we watched the new Knives Out movie, and it was great.
I drove 8 hours, and I'm not doing that again.
I love the new Knives Out movie. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was fantastic, like really fun.
Low tax speed running, Jor. How were your holidays?
It was fine. We went down to South Florida. My brother and sister came into town as well. They live in Orlando and St. Petersburg, respectively. Made prime rib, came out pretty well. Other than that, pretty low key. I got my Christmas presents, in quotes there, Christmas presents were a bunch of cooking shit. So like a carving knife and a bunch of cookbooks and stuff. And so I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, so these are really for you. Because you're
going to get to eat, presumably, whatever she makes. So you can come out ahead.
No. This is to get me to make it. So yeah, since I've been cooking more, she's clearly going to be encouraging that as much as possible.
Well, that'll be fun at least. So Ed, how was Christmas in Silent Hill?
Certainly happened. I drove up, immediately got hit with a snowstorm, and then drove back in salt hell. And I don't think I'm doing that one again, at least not in a car convoy. But, it went well other than that and the friend we had staying with us spraining his ankle and the local quote-unquote grocery store having a sign that said, "Don't ask us why all of the shelves are empty. We don't know."
Did you go on Christmas holiday to North Korea? Like,
honestly, it might have been an improvement in some ways. No, we went up to the ass end of Vermont, rented the place, so my lovely wife could go skiing with her friend who, as mentioned, immediately sprained his ankle. I mean, like first day, like second hour, they're getting the medics type of deal.
That's a little weird. I mean, it's pretty hard to sprain your ankle downhill skiing.
Yeah, well, he's a talented person.
Well, I hope he's healing up. I really like to see some environmental storytelling on my ski vacations. That's something that helps set the scene.
One of those ones where you're going out to go buy crutches for someone and you get called that your dog ran out the front door.
Did the grocery store sell crutches, or were they out of those too?
No, I had to drive 10 miles to a Walgreens. It was not the most relaxing of trips, but it was all right. It was fun.
They're turning Vermont into Caracas, folks. This is why we have to bomb Venezuela.
Well, our holidays were fun but nuts. We had, I think, 14 people in our 1-bedroom apartment for Christmas Eve.
As one does.
Yeah. We were supposed to have 3 different lasagnas, and then 2 of the people who were going to make them both got sick, so I ended up making one gigantic, thick lasagna for everyone.
So you won?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Fair.
By default.
Did you go ricotta or bechamel?
Went ricotta mostly because I ran out of time and decided to go with the easier route.
Definitely the easier route.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
This is Go Like Hell Machine, so I know he played the song. In fact, I'm sure he had a whole set of records he was playing. Did you all 14 of you agree on a word for that particular verse of Fairy Tale of New York.
We did, and the word was "Ah."
I'm a cheap, lousy braggart, man, for what it's worth.
Yeah, everyone just kind of hums through that one, I think, nowadays.
This is Normal Men, a podcast from four men who are clinging desperately to normalcy in an era when that's asking a bit too much. I'm George in Charlotte.
In D.C., I'm Proctor Malone.
In outer Florida, I'm low-tax speedrun enjoyer.
And I'm Ed in Boston.
All right, well, holiday recap and talking about food and drink, we have a bunch of fun mail from listeners. So let's get into our New Year's Eve mailbag and let's see if we can offer you some useful advice. First question here, what's an underrated cookbook to check out? And this comes from a listener who wants to learn how to cook more.
I've got a few, actually. One goes with audio video as well. So if you're trying to learn how to cook, binging with Babish on YouTube is great because he gets really into the weeds on like why he's doing what he's doing when he's trying to figure out how to cook this stuff. And that's a really useful way to learn how to cook because learning how to cook is not learning recipes, it's learning techniques and learning like a way of thinking about how stuff works. So I'm a big fan of him. His cookbook is great as well. It's all rehashes of stuff he did on his YouTube, but it's really good. I really liked Jubilee by Tony Tipton Martin, which is a Black or African American cookbook. I can't remember which term she uses for it, but it's phenomenal. Just some really cool off the wall recipes and really rooted in history and tradition around food that has been in this country almost as long as there have been people from the eastern edge of the Atlantic in this country. So those are both great. And then the last ones I'll throw out there for cocktails, Death & Co. or their second recipe book, Cocktail Codex. If you want to learn how to mix a cocktail, you should have those two books because they will completely inform, like they'll teach you soup to nuts how to think about mixing a drink, and they're great.
Yeah, I think George has the right of this, that there are really kind of at least two categories of cookbooks, and I'm maybe reading too much into the question here, but it sounds like we're aiming for sort of an intro primer that will get you the basics up and running. I like Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat in that line. I don't know if it's underrated because it's extremely highly rated, but if you're going to buy one book to learn how to cook, that's probably a pretty good book to buy.
Very good shout.
Also has the greatest roast chicken recipe and most foolproof roast chicken recipe ever, like, written down.
Yeah, it's excellent chicken. Roast chicken in general. We should make more roast chicken. Roast chicken is delicious. You will never regret roasting a chicken. Cook's Illustrated Cookbook is another staple around here, and Julia Child, don't overthink it. It's classic for a reason. If you're looking for something that is more in kind of the recipe inspiration line, this is something that my sons gave my wife for Mother's Day that has had good results for me personally through that mechanism of alchemy. The Diasporican, which is a Puerto Rican diaspora cookbook, has a lot of good stuff in it.
That sounds awesome. I need to check that out.
Ed, what about you? Any cookbooks that you would recommend?
I don't use cookbooks and never have. I learned to cook by eating and then going, how was that done? And then doing that. But I realize that is not a standard approach. I do like On Food and Cooking by Harold McGee, but that's not a cookbook. That's a textbook that's talking about cooking. Honestly, I think most of what I would be curious about could be answered on YouTube. I am not a fan of Babish for reasons. Not that he's like a bad guy or anything. I just find that style of YouTube. But I did like Adam Ragusia's stuff before he transitioned into podcasting and starting to pick fights on Blue Sky. I thought he had some really good video
What?
types. Oh yeah, no. Do you not know this?
Many such cases.
I don't know who Adam Ragusius is, so
Oh. So he used to actually be an NPR guy. He worked for WBUR up here in Boston, and then he decided to stop being a professor of journalism and go into doing YouTube full time as like a food guy. And the first few years where he was very clearly melting his brain are some of the best stuff on that I've seen. Then he transitioned into more sort of general purpose videos on some of this stuff to lighten the load. He started getting into podcasts. And now I mostly see his stuff because YouTube has stopped recommending him, but I mostly see him arguing with my mutuals on Blue Sky. So, real interesting arc, but a lot of that stuff is actually really useful. The biscuits recipe I still do. I think I stole from him way back in the day. But yeah, like cookbooks, I don't know. Something about trying to look at a book while cooking doesn't quite jibe with me, as opposed to like looking at my phone, which I realize I realize this makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, I've just never been the cookbook type.
I fully agree with that. When I cook, I very rarely am looking at a recipe. I'm almost always doing something from memory or doing something on the fly.
Mhm.
Cookbooks are helpful to sit down and read. Like you sit down and you read them cover to cover, and then you let stuff marinate and percolate, and then you come back to it later and you don't use the exact recipe necessarily, but you're thinking about the ingredients or the techniques or whatever. So cookbooks are great.
I don't have the attention span for that.
Well, but I will say too, the other thing that you said that I totally agree with is that you need to cook. You need to learn by doing with cooking, and you need to just do stuff. So It doesn't matter if you're cooking off a recipe, cooking off of a YouTube video, cooking out of your head. It doesn't matter. The point is doing stuff a lot. The best way to learn how to cook is to be like a line cook at a restaurant or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Because I've always been weird about this. I had a sous vide in 2010. Just because it's like, this looks fun and I have disposable income. We're going to go get a big giant red box. Because they weren't the thing you clipped on a saucepan yet. You had to get the whole box. And ever since, it's just been cool. I have solved proteins. I don't care anymore. And that's kind of how I've always ended up cooking, is just figure out how to do something in the most foolproof way and then just build on top of that.
I'm pretty sure I had that same model with sous vide. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
Kitchen. Yeah,
we upgraded to a Joule a couple years ago, which is a whole lot easier to work with.
It's big and red. It stays here.
So, low-tax speedrun enjoyer, what about you? What cookbooks do you like?
So I own 5,000 cookbooks because my wife buys 4 or 5 cookbooks anytime she goes to Books A Million or wherever. I'm with Ed, though. I don't really use cookbooks. Usually I get my ideas from just cooks I follow on Instagram or something. And then I'll say, oh, that looks really good. And hopefully they have the recipe posted, or if they don't, I'll go and just find a recipe for that same dish somewhere. And so that's my take on it. They bought me 3 cookbooks for Christmas this year, one of which was Snoop Dogg's. I'm hoping that was a gag gift.
I was once given T-Pain's cocktail book as a Christmas gift, so solidarity, brother.
Yeah. I assume Martha Stewart wrote all the recipes.
Probably a good assumption.
I'm willing to believe Snoop can cook. I would be interested in following that one up.
That wasn't the part I had a question about.
Well, wait, what part did you have a question about, Ed?
How can you write a book in a giant cloud of weed smoke?
He didn't actually write it, Ed. Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe that's why he can cook.
The only one that I've got to add to this list is Harumi's Japanese Kitchen. This is a book that I bought a couple of years ago, and I have not used it nearly as often as I would like, but I'm going to try to use it a little bit more this year, because Japanese cooking is something that I really just don't have anything to compare it to or draw on. So it's a good opportunity to actually use a cookbook and learn some different techniques that I wouldn't use for what I would normally make.
It's easier to make sushi rice at home than you would think. And that's all I really will say confidently about Japanese cuisine.
Well, I will hopefully get to find out this year. I have a giant bag of it in my basement right now.
Are you guys rice cooker people?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Depends. If I am making something that requires yellow rice, so if I'm making shawarma, for example, and I want yellow rice to go with it, then no, that's a Dutch oven task. If I am just making rice to go with curry or to go with chickpeas or something like that as my lunch for work, that's rice cooker.
I will say rice cookers are genuinely much better than a pot. The reason we don't have one is because we just don't have space for another gadget that large, and we don't eat that much rice. We only occasionally eat rice, so just do it on the stovetop. But my mother-in-law has one, and it's wonderful. Like, the rice it makes is just really great. That's all I can say.
I don't know. I don't think I have ever made rice like in a pot, because rice cookers are $20, and like a drum machine, they don't make mistakes.
So I'm going to be, we do not own a rice cooker. We are, I assume, the weirdos because we just buy the microwavable stuff.
Florida man strikes again.
We've actually moved to primarily that model too, but that's a child-related thing, because it turns out you need relatively small amounts of rice on short notice, cooked to exact specification. Anyway.
You could say that low taxes thing is a child-related thing as well, but that's maybe...
Yeah. I mean, there's only two of us, so, we're not eating a whole bunch of rice when we do it. That, and you get to the end of whatever you're cooking with it, if we're making like butter chicken or something, I'm just sort of like, I don't want to make rice. Screw this.
Consider you could just have a thing that sits on top of the microwave and the rice is done. It's $20. How much do you spend on microwavable rice packets? You are leaving money on the table, sir.
Probably like $10 a month.
You are leaving money on the table. This would pay itself back in 2.5 months.
That's how big rice gets you, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully you found that helpful. I'm not sure how helpful it actually was.
If you found that helpful, I have problems with the approach.
So this one's not so much advice, though I guess maybe it qualifies as advice if you find yourself in any of these places. But a listener says, anytime I'm going down through California back to New Mexico, or vice versa, I try to stop at Sultan's in Bakersfield.
I know who wrote this question, because there's only one person who would admit to going to Bakersfield. Jason, don't do this to yourself, man.
He ostensibly goes for shawarma, but mostly for garlic potatoes. So let's start with Proctor this time around. If you are in a place, what kind of food is a go-to for you? So like a destination food if you're in a particular place in the country.
Well, the question has me in a New Mexico frame of mind. So I go through Santa Fe pretty often. I've got family out there. And the ancestral Malone clan is a Tomasitas clan, for those who know Santa Fe restaurants. That's one of the old established places where you can get authentic New Mexican food. You can go get your sopapilla, and you can go get your Christmas chili there. But Tia Sofia's is the place that you should definitely make time to go for the breakfast burrito if you're in Santa Fe, right off the plaza. The breakfast burrito is about the size of a badger. You will not finish it. But it is amazing. It's fantastic.
Where did that unit come from?
What? It's a standard SI unit. Killer Badger, Mega Badger.
That actually came from a Jonathan Gold restaurant review where he described a badger-sized burgers at a place outside of Los Angeles in like 2000. So it's a phrase that stuck with me. Anyway, badger-sized.
It's gonna stick with me too. So
we're not even doing imperial units anymore, George. None of the metric pervert shit.
Doing Anglo-Saxon units.
And we're rejecting the British too.
No. We're going prior to William the Conqueror. Like, we're going back to the Dark Ages on our measurement units.
This man is reinventing the term corn.
My badger-sized units are American badgers, not European badgers, for those who recognize the difference.
Ed, what about you?
That's actually a really hard one for me to answer, because I don't go back to the same places very much. Like, I have...
He's
like,
not
local
allowed
stuff.
to.
That's a half-truth, George.
If you see this man.
We reached a mutual agreement.
Restaurants up and down the eastern seaboard with Ed's picture next to the cash register.
Look, those f***ers said all you can eat. They said nothing about tents, but... But yeah, like, I don't know. I always think about it more like internationally. Like every time, like I go to France probably every couple of years, and I am always sad if we don't go to Normandy and drink like €2 cider until I die. That's kind of the sort of thing I think of in the US, and like I really just don't travel back to the same places very often. So I don't really have any regulars outside of like the places I normally am. Where would I go? Like, what restaurants are on the windswept path between here and the Canadian border in Vermont, right? Like, that's a really grim set of options that way. And like, yeah, just pass.
This reminds me of a buddy of mine is originally from Maine. He grew up in New York, but he's originally from Maine. Yes. And he took his soon-to-be wife, his fiance, out to Maine for a wedding over the summer and got an Italian sandwich in Maine.
It was an Amato sandwich.
Yes.
God damn it. Not beating the allegations.
And she has been offended for like a year and a half since this happened, that this sandwich had green peppers on it. So...
All right, one, she's wrong, but two, Amato's is a pretty low rent sandwich. You go a little bit further south and you start getting into real places. You can find the roast beef joints all over the North Shore. And some of them will deign to put a cold cut on a sandwich for you too. But no, Amato's, Pat's Pizza, all of the main institutions are made by people who have no taste buds.
Do you guys have like sufficient Italian density in Maine that you get gradations of Italian sandwiches, or is it like, yeah,
no.
okay.
Do they allow
no.
Italians in Maine yet?
do they allow density in Maine?
This is going to be a technical term, but when you get up past Massachusetts, which, yes, has a substantial diversity of Italian population, it just turns into convenience store Americans, right? Like that's the one variety of Italian that you get anywhere north of I wanted to say $4.95, but that might be pushing it a little bit. Real heads know. And are sad.
Low tax speedrunner, how about you?
We have one regular restaurant that we go to. Our anniversary is on December 23rd, and we always go out to eat at this place called Waxen's in Jupiter. It's a Swedish restaurant. And you would think that would be, unhinged, rancid fish out of tin cans and things like that. That's really just
Minnesota, man.
I gotta say, Swedish in Jupiter, Florida is setting off an insane array of alarm bells inside my brain.
What he's not telling you is it's just an IKEA.
No, we do not have an IKEA, and my wife is very mad about that.
Oh,
She should be.
You have to go to Orlando or Jacksonville. No, but it's really good, and it's fairly inexpensive too. But other than that, I think the only other place I hit up regularly is when we go to my brother-in-law's house in Orlando. There's a chain called Rosati's that makes deep dish pizza. And my mother-in-law loves it. And so every time we go there, she yells at me to go and get a deep dish pizza.
Like yells? Because that's rather aggressive.
Okay, not yells, but, nags, I guess we could say.
Either way, you are going and getting that pizza.
Yes.
Yeah.
George, how about you?
I got a few. So in the fine dining range of the spectrum, if you're ever in Vancouver, go to the Mackenzie Room. It's phenomenal. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. They have this thing called I Want It All, where you get everything on the menu. Sort of like a prefix, but a little more unhinged.
All right, I'm in.
Really, really just like creative, local food, really fun stuff. So pretty much every time we go to Vancouver, I'm scheming a way to go to the Mackenzie Room. On the much more humble end of the spectrum, if I'm in Texas, which I am rarely in Texas, I try to avoid it. But if I'm in Texas and I'm anywhere near an HEB, I'm getting some tortillas to bring back in my carry-on. That's going to be a must. And I'm not saying HEB tortillas are necessarily the best flour tortillas out there. I'm sure they're not. I had some duck fat flour tortillas that you can have mailed to your house that whip them, but they're extremely cheap. They're very good, and it's just, to me, a quintessential thing. In New York, I always go to Essa Bagel when I'm up there and in Manhattan. So like Essa Bagel to me is the Ne Plus Ultra bagel. You just can't do savory baked goods better than everything bagel from Essa, in my opinion.
They are good bagels there.
Yes. And I mean, there's a couple others. Like if I'm ever in Chicago, I'm getting an Italian beef sandwich at some point, but it's not like any one place necessarily. If I'm in Canada, I'm usually going to get Tim Hortons at some point as well. I think it's important to emphasize that none of these, the Essa Bagel one really is legitimately like, that is the best bagel in the world. And I'm not really up for entertaining discussions on that. But the rest of them, like, it's not necessarily that they're the best thing ever. It's just very of a time and of a place and resonates with me that way. So again, like an HEB tortilla or an Italian beef they're not like the best food ever, but they're what those places represent to me, which I think was more the spirit of the question than what's really good.
Yeah. And in line with the spirit of the question, like, you know, as a person who spent some time in California, if I'm back in California, I will go get an In-N-Out burger. It's not because it's the best burger in the world. It's because it is tea and Madeline's. It brings me back to a place in time. I will go eat at Casabianca Pizza Pie in Eagle Rock, California, right outside of Los Angeles. You actually should go do that. It's pretty good pizza, but you know, it's not pizza that's worth traveling for necessarily if it's not a place where you drank a lot of cheap wine and ate a lot of sausage and salami pizza when you were 21 years old. So, you know, I think that I think the spirit of the original question engaged with maybe implied what is food that you eat when you are doing a certain task that you would not otherwise eat.
Yeah.
You know, you're there anyway. So, and I get corned beef hash from a diner that I cannot remember the name of every time I get my car serviced. It is the only time that I eat corned beef hash.
I love that one.
It's delicious every time. It's delicious every time, but it's probably taken years off my life at this point.
Yeah, but you're getting them back with the GLP-1s. It's a give and a take.
You know, I mean, I've got less bulk to absorb sodium, so it's.
I think maybe when I get the car serviced from now on, I'll start doing that. There's an Applebee's right by it, and I'll just sort of watch it.
Dude, they serve corned beef hash at Applebee's?
No, it's not about corned beef hash.
Just go in and ask for it.
I just want to steadily watch this Applebee's descend into, like, right now it's like a caricature from the late Soviet Union. It's falling apart. Like half the lights don't work. You can't see anything. And so maybe I'll start doing that.
I feel like you're just describing an Applebee's. In fairness, I have intentionally gone into a Chili's in the last year, so I can only throw so much shade.
No, I will defend Chili's. Do not diss Chili's.
Hard same.
All right. Well, speaking of taking years off your life, I've got a couple of recommendations. The first one, and this one is not one that I get to very often because I avoid going back to as much as I possibly can.
Hard same.
Yeah. Were I in Oklahoma and were I driving, I would drive about an hour north to Murphy's Cafe. And so Murphy's Original Steakhouse has the thickest gravy I have ever seen. And this is a hot hamburger joint. So you go in, it's an open-faced hamburger with steak gravy poured all over it. And this gravy is thick enough that you can stand up a steak fry on your plate in the gravy, and it will remain there for the entirety of your meal.
Professor, could you expand a little on the term hot hamburger?
Do you guys not know what a hot hamburger is? Oh my God. Okay, so hot hamburger it's an open-faced sandwich. It is a thick slab of Texas toast upon which you pile a large hamburger patty, and then upon which you pour about 2 cups of brown gravy all over the top of. It's incredible. That restaurant is probably resulted in thousands or tens of thousands of deaths over the years, but it's amazing. Second recommendation that I've got, Pete's Diner in Denver, Colorado. Anybody who has spent any kind of time in Denver has probably been to Pete's Diner. Opened up in the 60s by a Greek immigrant. He's got a couple of different restaurants. He also has a Satire Lounge, which is a fantastic dive, less than a block away. He's got a few different ones, but but Pete's Kitchen, actually, is the one that I really like the most. Big old school neon signs out in the front, gigantic menu full of, regular diner food and then also Greek food. And it is a fantastic place to try to fight off a hangover before it happens. Third recommendation I have is actually one that's super fun in Portland. And this is more for a particular drink than any type of food. But Hubert's. Hubert's is one of, if not the oldest restaurant in Portland. Was opened in the late 1800s, was for most of its existence has been run by Chinese American immigrants. They are sort of known for serving turkey all year round, so you can get Thanksgiving dinner any day of the week there. But what they are mostly known for is a Spanish coffee. So a Spanish coffee is coffee, Kahlua, 151, set on fire with melted sugar around the rim, and then hand whipped heavy cream poured over the top of it. It is an absolutely fantastic drink. I make everyone who visits go there at least once, and it's a really beautiful restaurant as well. It's fantastic. You would be well advised to stick with only one of these drinks, however. Because what everyone likes is someone who is both drunk and wired. It's fantastic.
I like that there's a little whippet in there too.
It does.
It helps
and
cushion you as
the
you go.
bartenders there, it's always, black bow tie, white tuxedo shirt, black vest. They do all of the different kind of cocktail tricks whenever they're mixing everything. So everything goes, from way up high to way down low. You have flaming drinks at your table. It's fantastic.
Oh, I will say too, so my wife and I went to Minneapolis 2 years ago, and there is a restaurant there called the Butcher's Tail, and they have a dish called the long rib, which is a huge beef rib that has this molasses Tabasco sauce they put on it. It is incredible. I still think of that. And someday I will make time to go to Minneapolis again, just so I can eat that damn thing.
That is a fantastic segue into our next question. And this one actually is a call for advice here. So our listener says, as ground beef reaches around $10 a pound, what should I do to maintain our RDA of proteins? Is turkey a good return on investment? Or will things get so bad that I should send out the boy to hunt for squirrels?
I think we should probably stipulate here that squirrel is, I have not had the chance to eat myself, but I have heard is excellent. And actually, our 9th president, William Henry Harrison, his favorite meal was squirrel stew. And I've looked up the recipe and it looks pretty standard. You got equivalent of a mirepoix, some potatoes, etc., a little thyme. I think we should be a little bit cautious about shooting down the whole squirrel shooting thing too quickly. That said.
Yeah, but urban squirrels.
Yeah, I mean,
what have they eaten?
They're omnivores, man. I mean, once it gets into muscle, it's...
I think you're fine as long as you avoid the brain. It carries a high risk of prion disease, if I remember correctly.
Don't eat the brains of anything, really. Yeah, I think that's good advice. Anyhow, I don't really understand why people think that ground beef is the only way to get protein, because it's really a bad way to do it. It's either relatively expensive and kind of not as good if you go really low fat content, or it's really fatty. Chicken is the best protein, in my opinion. I mean, turkey is also fine. Nothing against turkey, but you can do so much with, as Proctor mentioned earlier, a roasted chicken. You can do so much with chicken thighs, chicken breasts. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with wings. Chicken's great. Eat more chicken. I wish we could. Someone in my family has developed an allergy to it, so we can't eat as much of it, which makes the current beef price situation a bit of a pickle for me. Anyhow.
I'll say that my mother grew up eating squirrel in East Texas, and she is a gourmand and a adventurous cook. I grew up eating beef tongue, among other things, regularly, and she has never once said, "Man, I wish I had some squirrel." So
Okay.
So reviews may vary on that. I don't know. I'm not saying I wouldn't eat squirrel. I'm saying that I spent a decent portion of my life being cooked for by someone who has eaten squirrel, who did not see fit to include it on the menu.
Is it just because she didn't have a gun?
No, she would have obtained one.
All right, fair
Would
enough.
she have sent? She's Texas, man. I don't think getting a gun's a particular issue.
I'm not saying that there wouldn't have been any around, but like, you see the squirrel, you have to go all the way across the kitchen.
I will say beef tongue, super underrated. As lengua tacos. One of my favorite dishes I've ever had was a beef tongue and potato with mustard seed dish at Babbo in New York, Mara Batali restaurant. Like, beef tongue is so great. The texture is just it. If you don't like that kind of texture, then you don't like beef tongue. But I do, and oh yeah, the best.
Unctuous and tender.
Yeah, I don't. So, all yours.
Ed, how do you get a protein other than ground beef in your diet?
Pork tenderloins are $4 a pound at Costco. Why are you doing anything else? Right? Like,
yeah,
very fair.
I'm going to fake a chicken allergy to continue to do this because we occasionally. It is funny because so my wife is from China, but she is from a part of China that doesn't really do a lot of pork. So honestly, I am the one who cooks, like, reaches more for pork, even though you kind of think of it as a common thing. But she's from Hunan, so it's not as much of a thing in the way that she cooks. But like, I will very regularly sous vide up a couple of the big giant beef tenderloin packs from Costco. The stuff, they freeze forever. They take no time to cook. You can put anything on them. Honestly, we don't do as much pork as we used to, it seems like, in the U.S. I don't know if that's just my experience up in the Northeast, but like,
it very much is.
You don't hear a lot of pork. The pork spending has disappeared in this country. But
we got hog barns for days, as well as pig pits everywhere you can find them down here. So
sure, but that's like, how far off on the other side of the scale are you?
I'm just saying that the average is in the middle, buddy.
We have to find the median hog purchaser. And they're probably at Costco.
Ed, remember in Georgia State, like, drowning in pig shit is like the third leading cause of death in North Carolina?
That's an exaggeration, but it is regularly the largest single environmental hazard of any given county. So, like, yeah, it's...
South Carolina, on the other hand, real problem. But yeah, no, I take your point. But like, you just don't see as much, like, I go to restaurants. I don't see as much pork as you used to. You see a lot of chicken, you see a lot of fish, you see a lot of beef. You don't really see as much pork as like when I was growing up. And I don't know. It's cheap. And you can do anything with it within parameters. So
I wish there was more indica, I guess, of quality pork, because there's a significant range in quality in pork, and like the equivalent of like USDA prime pork or heritage breeds or
it's
whatever.
Kirkland Signature.
Well, I mean, Kirkland pushes a lot of solid B+ pork, and it's great, but like there's a notch above that like
sure. But like, we're talking about going for the base hit of pork here.
Sure.
Your local farmer's market is going to be your friend there, because I guarantee you, if you live near a decent sized farmer's market, there is somebody who is really pampering their pigs, and you can have access to the meat that comes from said pampering. And yeah, you're right. It's a huge difference. Even something like sausage from a really high quality pork producer is going to taste much better than something you get from a Walmart.
One of the really annoying things around here is that, like, there are places around here that you can get a quarter cow or something like that. You just fill up the chest freezer. Can't find anything like that for pork or pork related around here.
See, we're far enough down that our quarter cow purveyor also swings pork.
Oh, okay.
And they raise chickens, which is nice. We used to do a meat draft annually. That we would purchase a cow and bunch of pork cuts and a bunch of stuff. And, there'd be a bunch of people going in on it. And then we would throw everything on a table. And in turn, you would draft packages until everything was done. And we kind of gotten away from that. I'm not sure. Well, actually, I know exactly why we stopped. It was the pandemic. But
Well, yeah.
But aside
The answer
from
to most things, right?
Yeah. Lotax, what about you? What kind of proteins do you use other than ground beef?
Pork a lot. Lots of pork tenderloin, lots of pork loins we'll cook on the weekends. Do lots of pork butts, slow cook them. We roast chickens all the time. We'll buy, little chicken from Publix and do that up real quick. I'm not giving up beef altogether though. Can't do it. I don't care if it's $30 a pound. It's too good.
I mean, for Christmas dinner, I did up a bunch of steaks, so I get it. Though,
And that right there is why beef is so expensive right now, because nobody's giving it up no matter how expensive it gets.
No, the problem is you guys keep allowing the Texans to push this brisket nonsense, and that's pushing beef prices up because they're pushing into beef cheek, and they're doing crap to roasts and all this stuff. Stop listening to the Texans. Stop eating that crap.
hanger steak used to be so cheap, man. Like,
yeah.
all the tough, flavorful cuts.
I haven't done one in years.
Even oxtail, right? Which
Yeah.
should not be. That is not a good cut of the cow. It is not,
No.
and it.
Nope.
Wow, it's so expensive. It's crazy.
The only thing
Yeah.
I'll add here is chickpeas.
Yep.
Since all of you are mentioning meat, we tend to eat a lot of chickpeas in this house. They're high in protein. I actually, outside of chicken, I don't cook a lot of meat at home. It's typically chicken. But also we make a lot of chickpea curries in this house, and you can get a lot of protein out of that as well.
So this is maybe an admission against the political branding of this show, but eggs are cheap again. So
Yeah.
go buy some eggs.
Are you allowed to say
Well, I mean, hopefully they'll
You
get
just
more
ruined it
expensive,
for
I guess.
everyone.
Yeah, but no, eggs are cheap again. So, you can buy eggs. And I grew up in Pullman, Washington, which is, among other things, the lentil capital of the world.
Mm.
So gotta put the shout out for lentils.
Did you hear the Odd Lots podcast episode where they interviewed the Lentil King of Canada?
I did not.
No.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
That's a thing.
General shout out for that particular episode, because it's this guy whose whole deal was bringing lentils to the Canadian prairies, and he's done well for himself.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, lentils and chickpeas are fantastic, and they take flavor very well. You can cook them a bunch of different ways.
We also get a ton of those the frozen edamame, which do not end up in any conventional deployment of edamame, but like easy, fast, takes about 2 minutes.
There's a lot to be said for the humble bean in all of its forms.
Legumes, yes, absolutely.
They fix nitrogen too, so they're good from the sustainable agriculture standpoint.
Yeah, for all of those farms I have.
See, like any of the other four people on the podcast, I'd assume they were joking, but with Ed, I can't be sure. Like,
give me a little while. I'll get back to you.
Kind of transition here and talk about socializing and parties, because it is kind of party central over the next week, and everybody's probably been going to different Christmas parties, holiday parties, and you've got New Year's Eve coming up here. First question is, with all of these sort of celebratory drinking events, what do all of you feel about the boom of non-alcoholic beverages on offer lately? And do you have any mocktail or otherwise zero alcohol suggestions for the season?
I very much do. First off, I love the fact that you don't have to drink in a bar anymore. You can get something that's pretty much as good, or at least close, and still socialize and be a part of that and not have to drink alcohol. I've myself have cut back drinking radically this year for other unrelated reasons, and it's great that that's an option.
Let's
For
talk a
me,
little
the
bit.
3 I would recommend are the San Agrestes products. They're out of Brooklyn. They make their own Amaro and do alcoholic stuff, but they also have a Phony Negroni product that's awesome. There's a 0 ABV Amaro product as well that's sort of like an extremely intense like cola, not super sweet, but got that bitterness and that depth of flavor. So that San Agrestes stuff is great. Casamara Club sodas, also great. Very different, much lighter, much more crushable, relatively low calorie, and really, really fun flavor profiles. They are all inspired by Amaros, all 0 alcohol. Those are great. And then for beer, I think Bud Zero is the best 0 ABV product. That's what I drink, but I've had a bunch of them and they're all great. Sorry, they're not all great. A bunch of them are great.
Ed,
Monster sugar-free? I don't know. Like, so the thing is, it's not alcohol. George is having a moment over there. He'll be back. But like, I don't really like things with sugar in them. Like, I don't like drinks that have sugar in them. So basically, unless it is in the service of alcohol, I'm probably just going to have the soda water and just, whatever. No one cares. Unless it is at noon. And then, maybe I could use some more caffeine. But yeah, no, like the stuff that George described, like I've had some similar stuff and like they taste fine, but the sugar just like makes my mouth feel weird. And I just can't deal with it. So I pretty much just, soda water and lemon.
as opposed to Monster, which is supposed to make your mouth feel weird.
It doesn't. It genuinely, like in a rare moment of seriousness on this podcast, aside from like the last 4 episodes of real bangers, like I just don't like the sugar in drinks. Just like I have to go brush my teeth. Whereas like non-sugar things, it's fine. So this is just how we cope.
All right, low tax and then Proctor. What are your recommendations for either low alcohol or no alcohol or alternative to alcohol?
I guess my recommendation would be to listen to George, because if I'm drinking something that is beer or booze, like I'm just going to drink beer or booze. And if I'm not in the mood to drink, I'm probably just going to have a Coke or a Sprite or something like that.
Fair enough. Proctor, what about you?
Well, first off, I think I would be remiss if I did not mention that there is a holiday cheer wine edition that is essentially premixed cheer wine plus ginger ale plus pineapple that makes a great base for holiday punches, either alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
Why are you telling us this now?
As we mentioned before, if you're not into super sweet stuff, then cheer wine, probably not for you.
But
other than that,
the sugar-free cheer wine was shockingly good.
I think it would actually take bitters fairly well if you wanted to add a little bit of a bitter flavor to your holiday punch. Maybe I'll try that.
Well, now I have a project for this week.
Non-alcoholic beers are really good now. Athletic, I've liked pretty much everything I've had from them, and I've tried pretty much everything I've seen from them.
That was gonna be the one that I was gonna recommend as well. My guitarist is sober, and that's what they will order if they're in the mood for a beer. They did once have a 0 proof Milwaukee's Best.
Ooh,
it was
amazing.
It was one of the worst things I've ever tasted in my entire life.
Who is the market for 0 proof Milwaukee? And never mind. Apparently, it's your friend. But
the three people in Wisconsin who aren't raging alcoholics, probably.
Yep, exactly.
I was going to say the audience is a driver who's on their 3rd DUI and is trying not to go to prison.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's beers 7 through 12 for your DD.
Have you guys had the 0 alcohol Guinness before?
I have.
Yeah, not good.
Not good.
No,
Okay.
it's. I have had worse 0 ABV beers, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's really disorienting because Guinness is such a, like, if you're drinking a mass market lager, the differences are so small that like you kind of blend them all together to a degree, right? Whereas
Right.
Guinness is a very distinctive flavor and mouthfeel, and they do it.
Yeah.
They worked hard on it. It's not a bad effort. It's just off enough that it.
Yeah.
I feel like unless you're straight up sober for reasons, and there's lots of good reasons with Guinness in particular, like number one, it's not like you're going to crush a whole ton of Guinness, and it's not terribly leaded. So, like, that's one where I think you get less juice for the squeeze out of switching to non-alcoholic.
I would have floored you in grad school.
I mean, like, I like Guinness. I drink Guinness, but it's like 4% ABV. And, you know, by the time I'm through a pint of Guinness, I would be on my fourth Miller Lite. So, like, so, you know, it's one of the major selling points of Guinness for me is that it is difficult to get drunk off of Guinness. Just as a straight up rates problem, that you're not going to take in enough alcohol to really get schnockered.
You're not trying hard enough.
It's like with smoking, Proctor. You got to keep pushing forward because it's about to get so good.
Yeah, I'll be real. I don't know how someone could get drunk off of Guinness because I can't drink one. Not because of the alcohol, because they taste terrible. I don't understand this entire phenomenon. And I mean, look at the hair. This is the voice of reason speaking.
They're going to throw you out of Boston, you know that? They're going to throw you out of New England.
Turn you away at the Dublin airport.
Not so far.
They're going to send you to Ohio or Missouri or something. Go be German somewhere.
Try mixing it half and half with sugar-free Monster. See if that.
Don't do that. Don't.
I also really like the various hop waters, which are essentially LaCroix, but like with hops as the whispered essence.
That's the one that I don't get at all.
They sound terrible, but okay, I like them for the following reasons. Number one, like if I'm sitting there at a party with a drink in my hand and it is a crushable drink, I will crush it. Hop waters are not crushable drinks, so they are sufficiently bitter that I will sit there and I will nurse my hop water, despite the fact that it is 0 calorie and has no other noticeable, you know, impact on your body in any way. But it means that I'm not, you know, just taking down a bunch of liquid and going to go get more water or whatever all the time.
They're a phenomenal tailgate drink. Also, I will say, like a hot summer tailgate or a late fall tailgate or early fall tailgate where you're like in the sun and you're drinking and you want to be something in your hand, you can just crush them and get hydrated really quickly, and they're great. Like A+ for that situation.
And they've got that terpene bite. You know, they taste like hops. So if you're one of those IPA sickos, then they'll hit that target for you.
No, you can keep your Mumford & Sons IPA water.
Only thing I'll add is club soda with a healthy shake of bitters, I think is always a good one as well. That's my go-to if I'm at a bar, but I'm not going to be drinking. Club soda with just a couple shakes of bitters. If I am at home, I'll have a club soda with mint bitters. Fee Brothers make an interesting mint bitter, which turns your drink the color of Vulcan blood. So it's fun to walk around drinking something Dayglow green that is non-alcoholic.
There are a couple decent alcohol-free wines out there also that, I mean, like, they're not good wine. Let's not kid ourselves here. But the very specific use case for like alcohol-free Prosecco is if you have a pregnant friend who drinks and wishes that she could again, she will appreciate the alcohol-free Prosecco.
So another party-related question here. What's the best way to construct a holiday party playlist? Do you go constant bangers, scripted for the whole night? Or do you start with some crowd pleasers and then open it up for suggestions? Now, I'm going to start this one off. I'm never going to open it up for suggestions ever. If you're in my house, you're going to listen to whatever it is I choose to play. It's like driving rules.
Yes, that's so correct. I literally said in my notes for this, my philosophy of DJing is you gave me a job to do, so I'm going to do it. And that is exactly right. It like nailed it. Go like hell machine.
Yeah, I have people for that. I delegate.
Same.
Proctor, what about you? Do you put together the playlist for your parties, or do you turn it over to an algorithm or turn it over to somebody else?
I like either elaborately themed playlists that involve wordplay where possible, or I like essentially Sonos Radio. as the go-to. Either I don't want to think about it and I want it to be surprising enough and have sufficient novelty that I am surprised by it, or I want to think about it very intricately and it's something that we're going to continue to add to over the course of the evening.
George, what about you? It sounds like you have some experience making playlists for your holiday parties.
I mean, I don't, but just in general, like the person assigned to DJ is they're in the driver's seat, like you said. I mean, we don't need people coming in from the peanut gallery. If things are getting very late and sloppy and the DJ is tired, both physically and spiritually from having to listen to their creation all night, then sure. But, no. Put together a good playlist, use your judgment, show some craft. That's the way to handle being a DJ.
I typically don't make playlists at all. What I end up doing is digging about anywhere between 20 and 30 records out that I want to play during the evening and stack those next to the record player. And I usually play them cover to cover. So we did this for Christmas Eve. Part of the reason for this is that our table that we serve everyone from goes up against where the records are. So I can't actually get records out very easily whenever we have big parties. So I just kind of create a stack and play through them and don't have any real rhyme or reason to it. So hopefully that was helpful. I feel like that was probably the least helpful we have been on advice so far.
I don't know. I think delegating is a wise option here.
It is.
Probably have
True.
at least one friend who cares about this. Because if you're asking this question, you probably don't care that much yourself, and that's totally fine. I don't. But I have a friend who was a tech for Lady Gaga tours and is just the most knowledgeable person about music I've ever met. And he likes that, so go nuts.
Yeah, but the catch-22 here is that the person who wants to do it the most is the person who will be the least good at it.
But
in
that's
most
why
cases.
you delegate. I didn't. I in no way did I suggest asking for volunteers. You know your people. You pick the right one.
That's
30
right.
30 minutes of napalm death coming up.
That's right.
Couple socializing questions, and these go along with the party questions a little bit. Here's one that I hope we can give good advice on, but we'll see. What are some tips to being more self-confident and outgoing? Our listener says, for many years, I was essentially asocial. I've been getting out more recently, but it doesn't really feel natural to me. And let's start with George here.
I share some of this question submitter's pain. I was not particularly social, not for a lack of interest in it, but for a lack of social skills when I was younger. By the time I got to high school, college, things sorted themselves out. So, things do change. I will say self-confidence isn't something someone can give you advice about. I mean, I think there's nothing I can say to be like, oh, just do this and you'll come across as more self-confident, which is kind of hard to hear, I'm sure. But what I will say is you can put yourself into situations where being more social comes naturally and is supported by what's going on around you. So one thing I would suggest people do is that they find groups of people to spend time with who have different personality types. My supporters group for Charlotte FC is a perfect example of this. We run the gamut from people who are almost over the top extroverted and just extremely socially oriented to people who really, really have to work hard to get up for any social event, and everyone in between. And when you're in a group of people like that, you'll both be encouraged to be more social, and also people will understand. And when there's times that you're not really feeling it.
I was also going to say, so this listener says that they're getting out there and they're trying to be more social. It just doesn't feel all that natural yet, but they're probably on the right path here and need to just keep getting out there and getting reps, basically.
Yeah. So the other thing I would say is I mentioned a specific group, like a sports team supporters group. Join an organization of some kind, whether it's something you do to volunteer, whether it's something you do that's related to a sport or a leisure activity or whatever, like join something that will get you around other people in a structured way, not because like you want to socialize with those people specifically. You may have to join a few different groups, but there are so many groups out there that are looking for people to participate in them and want people to join in or need people to join in. I mean, literally unlimited demand for your time as a volunteer doing stuff. And that will create social opportunities in terms of just doing stuff with other people. Maybe not fun stuff in the case of volunteering all the time, but you will spend time with other people. And that is a way to get yourself more comfortable with being social with people. So finding any organization you can. Then the last thing I'll say in this, because I've taken up almost this whole question, less phone, I would say, is a very good way to get more social. Instead of staring at your phone, if the thing you want to do is be more social, go out into the world and literally touch grass in ways that are not forcing yourself on people in some sort of social situation, but just existing around other human beings. That will create social engagement no matter what you do.
Go sit at the bar, grab a beer, watch a game.
Yeah.
Tell a joke to the guy sitting next to you or something.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. Jokes and just, every time the topic of small talk comes up on the internet, people complain and talk about how terrible and stupid and pointless small talk is. Small talk is great.
They're always the most unlikable people on earth.
Absolutely. I love small talk. Talk about the weather. Talk about the, local news in your area. You typically want to avoid politics, particularly with a stranger. Avoid religion, normal bar rules. But talk about what's going on in your neighborhood. Talk about your job. Talk about your friends. All of these different things are skills that can kind of help you to feel a little bit more confident talking to people out in the real world and particularly strangers in the real world. The reason that weather is always a great topic is because everyone experiences it. It's a totally universal thing. Everybody has thoughts about the weather. But just pick some topics that you could talk to a random stranger about, and you'll be able to kind of get better at those conversational skills and transition into maybe more interesting or more meaningful conversations.
I do want to interrupt here, Mr. Like Hell Machine. You do realize a large proportion of our audience is on Blue Sky. I would bet that a full 50% of your interlocutors have not touched grass in the last 10 years. Weather is a dangerous topic sometimes. I'm just saying, you gotta read the room.
That, and you run the risk of being the guy who's going, how about this heat?
It is 13 degrees out, and it doesn't matter if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit.
I will say that, number one, with regard to Blue Sky, I've really liked everybody I've met off Blue Sky who I met in real life. They've been
But that's a
very
selection
pleasant.
bias,
Sure,
right?
sure.
I met you in person off of the internet, but there's an effort to be made to do that.
There's a selection bias, but I'm not sure there's a normalcy bias, if you follow me.
Fair.
But I think that in terms of, practicing small talk, situations where you're hanging out, not doing much around other people who you do not know well are not impossible to construct. It used to be that the classic example was standing outside having a cigarette for those of us who have spent time smoking. And that's a great way to learn how to strike up a conversation with strangers. Similar events that I encounter or have encountered, dog parks are great for this. You're sitting there, your dog's doing their thing. Talk to people. People are bored. They're usually going to be more interested in having a low stakes conversation with a stranger than they are in continuing to be bored. Playgrounds, if you have kids, that's another one. There's lots of this kind of liminal frictional activity involved in anything that has you sitting there waiting. And these are good times to talk to people. With regard to confidence, I'm not going to say that people aren't judgmental. People are judgmental, but they're less specifically judgmental than you think they are. They are not keen on any one particular thing you did or said wrong. These are not things where you should get neurotic about it and beat yourself up over it. That's not how people react. People people evaluate other people. Like I said, people are judgmental and they will make a judgment on you, but they're going to color you in very, very broad strokes as, yes, I enjoyed talking to this person, or no, I didn't enjoy talking to this person. They're not going to total up merits and demerits from a list of faux pas you may or may not have made or what have you. And, unless you do something that's way, 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 way outside the normal range.
I was going to say, if you step in it so badly that like, that's the thing, then like, you're going to know.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be a mystery.
Yeah. So, don't get bogged down in kind of microanalyzing your own behavior or your own presentation. That way lies madness. You are not a character sheet, This is not something where you have a bunch of discrete characteristics that you're trying to optimize each of. This is something where you're trying to present yourself as a whole person, and hopefully other people will like the whole person you are. So
hopefully that was helpful. I feel like that was one where we did at least maybe offer some actionable advice. This one, I think we will probably be a lot less helpful for, just because these questions are always really hard to give advice on. So I have been off the dating scene for a while, but I'm looking to get back out there in the new year. I love hearing normal men talk about their normal partners. Any advice from how you met them that could help a fellow normal man be so fortunate?
Be on the internet on all of the nonsense for an unbroken span of approximately 15 years. I exaggerate slightly. It was broken in some ways. But yeah, like honestly, that seems to be the thing. At least, like, it depends on where you are, obviously. But like, I am in a very urban area. People, and specifically, all of the jokes about the Northeast are true. If you go to a bar, it's a bunch of people talking to their friends. It's not, it's a lot of the same advice as sort of George laid out on just like meeting people in a more general sense applies in most places. And shockingly, the difficulty curve is much higher in certain places, and New England is one of them. But yeah, like a lot of it is trial and error, I think, and it's a moving target. A lot of it sucks. Sorry. But it does. Like, in my case, at least, like it sucked a whole lot until I was about 29, and then, things sort of sorted themselves out. But the fact that coincided with me not being quite as much of a raging prick probably had nothing to do with it. But like, yeah, it's rough out there. And like, that's the one commonality of every conversation that I have had with any friend that is currently in that spot is, dear God, it's a mess out there right now. No advice. Good luck, but pull it for you. Like, I say that in a joking way, but like, it sucks. It's pretty tough. Unless you have some other advantages. I don't go to church. I am not religious, stuff like that. And social works don't really, not as big a thing up here. But if you're in places where you can leverage that stuff, I think George's advice for the last question probably stands here too.
Yeah, I think some of that same advice probably applies. I have no useful advice here. I met my partner on Facebook, and this is because we grew up in the same place, in the same circle of friends, going to all, or at least some of all of the same shows. But there's a couple year age difference between us. And when you're, 15 years old, that's a much bigger thing than it is when you're in your 40s. And
oh no, here comes age gap discourse. We're about to get blown open in front of us on blue sky.
Hell Machine is about to confess to being problematic here. We should have known it was coming, folks.
2 years. Oh no.
But so we met and struck up a friendship, and then we were both on our ways out of other relationships that were not as fulfilling for either of us. And so got together from there. So none of this is very useful or applicable at all. And I apologize for that.
Yeah, we're 0 for 2.
My dating advice, such as it is hopelessly dated at this point. I haven't been single since 2006. But
I graduated high school then.
Yeah. So I went on 2 OkCupid dates that went okay, I guess, and that's the entirety of my experience with sort of online app-focused dating. They weren't even apps at that point. This was the pre-app era. And I think that that's how a lot of this happens at this point. Certainly it's how it's happened for a lot of my friends. For me, I walked into a bar to meet a friend of mine for a beer. He'd just gotten back from a camping trip where he'd proposed to his now wife. My now wife was also in the bar having a drink with her friends, and we struck up a conversation. We got to talking. We made out a little, and we've been together ever since. So, insofar as that's replicable, I guess the actionable lesson from that is be willing to say yes to things. There were a lot of potential off ramps that I didn't take and my wife didn't take from this bar hookup that has now lasted for 20 years. But we were both interested enough in working through whatever issues there were that weren't pre-screened for, because again, this was a bar hookup, that we didn't run away from what has turned out to be the love of my life, obviously. So be willing to say yes.
By the way, for our younger listeners, bars are these establishments we used to have where they serve alcohol to you in exchange for money.
Now low tax is problematic.
I really like that advice from Proctor. And I think that looking back at my relationship with my wife, it's totally true. We met in December. By March, April, we were making plans to move across state lines together, and we did it by the middle of the summer. And
you make that sound like illegal.
Well, how do I say moving from one end starting place to another, from New York to North Carolina, whatever. If you're not willing to say yes and work through hard stuff with somebody, then you're just never going to be in a long-term relationship. Like it's just, that's what comes with the territory. So now obviously getting up to that point where there is something to say yes to is a really different story, and finding someone who's also going to say yes is a really different story. And those are both very contingent. And I will say, like, dating is hard. It's a ton of work. It's expensive. It's frustrating. It's really frequently an attack on your ego. Any rejection sucks as a human being. We are very, very, very badly wired to accept rejection. And there are good things that come of that. It means that when you strike up a conversation with a stranger at the dog park, that, there's a natural fear of being rejected by the other person, and you tend to do pro-social things as a result. That's a good thing. But it sucks to get rejected, and that's what dating, especially the early stages of dating, involves. So, all that said, I do think go on a lot of dates with people, like ask a lot of people out, go on a lot of first dates. They aren't all going to work out. Most of them won't for very long. I mean, it's just how it works, right? But both the act of going on dates and the act of asking people out on dates is going to help you grow a lot as a person. And this applies equally to men and women, by the way. I saw a TikTok last night. This young woman who lives in Atlanta and her friend in a computer center retailer or whatever, looking for guys, because that's the kind of guy they want, is like the kind of guy who's interested in computers. And like, because they identify that kind of guy as being like not the kind of guy that they keep getting into bad stuff with, right? Like bad patterns with. And so I found this hilarious. So I clicked on her profile, and she had another TikTok where she saw a cute guy and she walked up to him and handed him a note with her number on it to be like, hey, I think you're cute. Like, here's my number. I don't think either one of those strategies worked for her in that specific instance. But if you do stuff like that enough, you will go on a lot of dates. Like, trust me.
The computer guy one might have worked out. She just found all new bad reasons to get out of those relationships.
The last thing I'll say is that when you are on a first date, think about it the way you think about a job interview. Not in the sense of like trying to get a job or trying to get an outcome, but in the sense of the more you can get the interviewer in a job interview talking about themselves, the better that interview is going for you, right? People love talking about themselves, and they really love talking about themselves when they think they have a receptive audience. So anything you can do to show interest in what the other person is into and get them talking about it is going to go a very long way in making a good impression. And maybe it's someone that you, in the long run, don't end up actually wanting to make a good impression on. I don't know. I mean, there's no way to know. That's why you're on the date. But if you've got anxiety about getting back into dating or getting into dating at all for the first time, I don't know how old people listening to this are, so whatever. Treat it as an exercise in making the other person feel comfortable and validated and talking about themselves, and it's going to be a good date. Or at least a middling one. It's not going to go off the rails. So that would be my advice for someone getting back into dating. Not that I've done that in 10 years, but hey, whatever.
I'm still stuck on the perils of finding love between the aisles at Micro Center.
I'm just trying. So if you shop at Micro Center, it is a competition between you and the sales associate because they really want to put that sticker on whatever you have already selected for a commission. And this is a really dangerous place to be in this sort. You are adding levels to this dynamic that you do not understand.
This one, I think, is primarily going to be one for Proctor and George. I don't think Ed or Lotax or myself are going to be of any real help here. But our listener says, I've got Kid 3 Tokyo Drift arriving in April. With the 2 kids I have already got and the dog, I've already moved to a zone defense with getting the dog slightly less attention than the other 2. The question here being, any tips on making sure that all 3 kids feel included and attended to within the family? Our listener also adds that they're aware that Kid 3 will be a potato for 5 months, but still.
Nope, you're toast. Good luck.
Good. Now no one could judge me for my answer to the last one.
No. I only have 1 kid, but I have thought a lot about what it's going to be like going from 1 kid to multiple kids because we want to have more kids. And the thing I keep coming back to is our daughter is amazing. She's so social and happy and well-adjusted and just great. I mean, she's amazing. She's turning 3 in January, and I couldn't be more thrilled with the little human that I am tasked with keeping alive for another 15 years. I worry about her going from an environment where she has 2 parents who are hyper engaged with her and focus on her at all times to one where she has to share it. I'm really worried about what that's going to do to her psychologically. What I always tell myself, and maybe this isn't true, but I tell it to myself, is that benefit that she got of having our sole attention on her for the first 3 years of her life or 3+ years of her life won't be shared by her younger siblings, but they'll have her, right? They will always have her to look up to, her to help them, her to care about them in a way that she never did. She only had me and my wife and extended family, et cetera, of course, but inside the home. Right. And so I think it's puts and takes. Your kids are going to know you love them. I'm sure if someone's asking a question this self-aware, they're going to do a good job being a parent. And the question is then just going to be, in what specific ways do you manage that? And it's going to be fine. You're going to be fine, dude. You're good.
Yeah, I've got 2 kids, so I can't really speak to moving to a situation where you're outnumbered on the fast break. But and I think that would be a little bit different. But what I can speak to is the difference between having 1 kid and having 2. First off, the delta on the parental side in terms of difficulty is much, much larger going from 0 kid to 1 kid than it is going from 1 kid to 2 kids. Going from 0 to 1 changes your life entirely. Going from 1 to 2 changes your life not very much. It's harder having 2 kids than it is having 1 kid because you now have 2 small humans who are reliant on you for everything and are probably very opinionated. They're your kids. They're going to share many of your more charming traits. But you've got a smaller change going to 2 kids. In terms of dealing with kids as individuals, if you've already got 2 kids, you've already got a pretty good sense of how that works, at least to some degree, depending on how old those kids are. Some kids want to be around other kids. Other kids want more focused attention from mom and dad. You kind of want to meet the kid where they are, whether that's, the specific things they like to do, or whether if what they want to do is basically just, tackle Big Brother, then fine. We're now tackling Big Brother, and hey, let's all tackle Daddy. I think that carving out some individual time is probably worth doing to the extent that your kid is capable of engaging with that individual time, which, as discussed, they're a potato for the first 5 months, and, a more complicated potato up to a golden retriever for about the next year and a half, 2 years. But, that engagement will pay off. And I think it's worth carving out some individual time to do one-on-one things with your individual children to the extent that that's possible. That said, George's point is well taken that, the sibling dynamic is a really big part of families that have multiple children. That if you're a younger sibling, your older sibling is always going to be a presence in your familial life. And unless the age gap is large, pretty soon the younger sibling is always going to be, in terms of memory, a presence in your individual life. I don't think my older kid remembers a time when he didn't have a brother, and there's obviously there's a 2.5 year age difference. So there's various mismatches in terms of capability. We got a little bit lucky because the younger one is large for his age and the older one's a little small. So, it's a fairly even matchup physically, but that's something that for their entire experience of family life, they have been part of each other's family unit. And that's a tremendous benefit that is outside of what my wife and I provide to them directly. It is useful to have it be outside of what my wife and I provide to them directly because it's something that you don't have to do. There are significant capacity problems here, right? Particularly as you start adding kids. There's no question in my mind that we approached kid number 2 with a different, let's say, standard of care than we did with kid number 1. Partially because, we were experienced parents at that point. We'd done the thing. We were pretty sure we weren't going to break the child and did not, in fact, break the child. But, there were a bunch of practices that seemed really, really, really important with baby 1 that did not seem important with baby 2. I don't know if there's a similar degradation that happens as you move from kid number 2 to kid number 3 for most people, or if it's just, you've kind of got your routine down at this point and you're just executing. Anyway, that's a long-winded answer, but I think in terms of actionable advice, try to carve out individual time with each of them. Get to know your kids. They're individuals, and that's worth exploring.
I want to plug a totally unrelated book here, just because it's very funny, called Did You Hear Mammy Died?, which is by Seamus O'Reilly, who is best known for a long Twitter thread describing how he met the president of Ireland while on ketamine. But
that guy, I remember that thread.
Yes, that was a fantastic thread.
His book is very fun, where he talks about being one of 11 children whose mother died. So 11 children who were being raised by a single widower father. And it's an extremely funny read. So maybe you can get some useful advice out of that one as well. All right, we got a couple questions left here, and these are kind of normal men related questions. So the first one comes from a listener who says there are a lot of not normal people online. This presumes that we are normal, rather than that just being aspirational, as Proctor likes to say. But how did we find each other, and how can other normal people find each other? I mean, I think the answer for how we found each other is internet, right?
Yeah. Before we get to that, have any of you people listened to me talk?
Look, some of us lean on the aspirations harder than others.
Oh.
No, the genesis of the podcast was me and Lotax going back and forth, being like we need to do a podcast. Like we need to. There are so there's so much nonsense out there. Like we need to do a podcast. Who'd be good? And Go Like Hell Machine and Proctor were right at the top of the draft board for guys that would fit into the sort of vibes we were thinking about. And obviously Go Like Hell Machine had to step back at one point, and he said, "Hey, y'all need to replace me with this Ed fella." And that was a huge mistake, but you know, we're
we were pretty stuck at that point.
So yeah, which is to say, like the way you find other normal people is just by, you know, when you identify a normal person, start talking to them. I mean, normalcy ensues.
I think we all found each other through Blue Sky.
Mm-hmm.
I
knew Go Like Hell Machine through Twitter.
Yeah, Ed and Hell Machine knew each other outside of Blue Sky.
Well, sort of. I knew him because I hired him sight unseen off of Twitter.
Yes.
I was like, I need somebody who does exactly what this guy does, and honestly, he's probably better than anyone who will interview.
Yeah, so Ed and I knew each other via Twitter, and then Proctor and I knew each other via Twitter before Blue Sky. So,
and I knew Proctor through Discord because of him. Before being on this podcast, I had drunk beers and pet his dog.
But that was an interview process.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
So how do other people find, or other normal people find other normal people? I mean, I think all the same advice that we mentioned in previous questions, right? Like, leave your house, get around, and go be around people. I look at it in one of two ways. Either everybody that I know is normal, or no one that I know is normal. But there's
it's that one.
Yeah, there's no in between there.
Yeah, I mean, like, no one else I know talks about football, and I would just probably assault them if they talked about college football, right? Like, I know people who play fighting games. I know people who, like, are weird woodworkers who have not left their garages since 1975. Like, this is the closest thing to normal I ever experience, right?
Yeah, in real life, I talk about, like, Canadian hardcore bands.
You know, again, I think the listener base of this podcast is heavily on Blue Sky, and although maybe not exclusively on Blue Sky. And if you're on Blue Sky at this point, you have hopefully learned how to humor other people's monomania at least a little bit.
And if you're not, don't.
Like, you wind up talking to somebody about their special interest, and this isn't an insincere thing. You should take an interest in their special interest. But people like to talk about their particular special interests. And if you're having good conversations about your special interest or about their special interest, that's a good conversation, and you can build on that.
The key is to not be like me and have 17,000 special interests, because then you get very exhausting.
It's important that everybody listen to my special interest, because that's the only way the Democrats are going to retake every race that they could possibly win.
Yes, but which kind of communist are you?
I have not heard someone say the word zoning in real life in probably 12 months.
And you live in Portland. I would have thought it would be thick on the ground.
Yeah.
I have not heard anyone say it. I have heard my county council guy post it on Facebook. But that's it.
One more question for everybody here. Last question, and I think a fun one to close out this New Year's Eve edition. Our listener says, I started following the normal men on Blue Sky because all of your relative positivity compared to a lot of the doomers that I had been following. The question being, what's some advice you have about how to stay hopeful about our country or life in general in 2026?
This is going to come back to the touching grass thing, or, you know, some digital analog thereof. One of the things I do to try to stay positive is I do a weekly podcast, and I find that very helpful. I don't know how transferable that is, but talking to other people who are thinking about some of the same things I'm thinking about, even if they don't always see them the same, even and especially if they don't always see them the same way I do, is a useful mood elevating thing for me. It helps me get outside my head in places where I'm stuck in my head, and it helps me feel engaged and connected to a larger community. I don't think a podcast is the only way to do that. I'm not sure it's the best way to do that.
God, let's hope it's not the only way to do that.
Or the best.
But, it works. I think any kind of hobby or community engagement like that is going to give you a little bit of anchoring in a way that may make it easier to ride out the swells of doomery.
Stay off the phone. I think just in general, trying to make sure that you don't find yourself glued to the fire hose of hell news every single day. You don't need to refresh a news feed several times throughout the day. You don't need to know everything that is happening as it's happening. And if you do try to keep up on that kind of thing, it will make you miserable. I do it myself, and I have to force myself not to do it because it makes me miserable. And it's just something that's not going to be good for you. Go for a walk. Take a dog for a walk. Go for a bike ride. Go to church. Go to a bar. Do anything other than just drowning yourself in the deluge of terrible news on a day-to-day basis. And also, a thing to remember is one day it is going to happen.
Hell yeah, it's going to happen. I can't wait, and it's going to be...
I already
and in
have
the
an
meantime-
understanding at work that I will not be around for at least 2 days.
Your wife's going to walk into you, and there's just going to be 52 cans of Monster sugar-free on the floor, and you'll be drooling in bliss.
Well, how else am I going to stay up for 72 hours straight?
And before it happens, you can read polls online because we're gonna beat the absolute shit out of them in the midterms.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is funny though, because golikehellmachine and I yell about this all the time. Or rather, I yell at him about it and he nods. But like, the media diet of the average American is bad. And by bad, I mean apocalyptically bad. This is going to be the one time where I am getting on this soapbox this year, because the year ends in 2 days. 3 days. Don't do TikTok, don't do Instagram, don't do vertical video of any kind. Restrict your YouTube to things that are 15 minutes or longer. I personally don't do Netflix, Apple One, like TV, any of that stuff. Like, it's just, I'm sure it's all fine, but like, there's too much of it, and you have to pick what you're going to pay attention to. And the stuff I pay attention to is sometimes video games, exactly enough news for this podcast, and woodworking, 3D printing, and making stuff, right? Like, that is kind of what I have cabined my interests into, because like, you will go insane, right? Like, I used to follow the news all the time. Half the time I look at our outlines and I'm like, that happened. I genuinely get a lot of my news from Blue Sky, because like, it'll percolate through one of the 1,000 news radiators, except the ones that I've muted, right? Like, it's fine. You don't have to pay that much attention. Asterisk, unless it is stuff that is directly impacting you. Further asterisk, a lot of those people want people to be scared for no reason, so think about who you're looking at. But like, there is other stuff, and particularly for our American listeners, and this is going to me being very exceptional as an American for a minute, there's a lot of homeostasis around this stuff. There's going to be a lot of snapback to basically everything that you have gotten really, really scared and upset about in the last year. It's going to take a while, but like, they have screwed this one up so transcendentally that like, there's really only so much they can do. It will be not good, but like, it's fixable, and they're assholes. No one likes them. It's fine. Like, head down, slog through. And like, The other side of it is not as far away as people think, which is not something I would have said 10 years ago, but 10 years ago I was 28. But
I guess to touch on and amplify a point that Ed just made about people who are, for whatever reason, and I think there's lots of reasons that people do this, are trying to kind of disseminate feelings of doom. Number one, Sometimes I find it easier to be optimistic on behalf of other people than I do to be optimistic for myself. I think there's a lot of things that I find personally easier to do for others than I find it easy to do for myself. And that is maybe why I come off as optimistic online, because natural devil's advocate cussedness against a field of doom plays as optimism.
Oh my God. Dude, that is me to the core too. Like, weird. It's just, when you see a million people saying the same thing, you have to say the opposite thing. It's like a compulsion. There's no way to avoid doing it.
But it helps. And what I like about the two of you is you usually do the math first, because the math is usually not as dire as anyone is saying.
Yeah. You don't owe people your depression. Like, that's not something you need to do to sympathize with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And consider not doing that. Consider not catastrophizing. Consider not overreacting to whatever the news of the day is. It's probably not the really, really big one. And, everybody does this sometimes. Everybody overreacts to things, because if you're not overreacting to anything, then you're not reacting appropriately, right? Like it's going to be a distribution around whatever the appropriate reaction is. Sometimes you're going to miss high, sometimes you're going to miss low. But it can be useful to take a step back and try to evaluate things against a larger field and try to figure out whether or not a particular thing is actually as big a deal as people think it is, or whether this is maybe not something that is necessarily going to swallow the world. With regard to news sources that are regularly spreading doom, consider getting your news from somewhere else. I'm not really sure how else to say that. If part of somebody's business model is making you feel terrible about the world, you do you, but why would you want that?
And that's a lot of people's business model these days.
Yeah, like if you are getting your news from somebody who has a Substack, I wish you would stop. Like, there are good ones, but I'm sorry, Paul Krugman, you go in the bin too. Right?
I mean, I like Paul, but
I do too.
Like,
but he is on Substack. He goes in the bin.
Sure.
I think also just consider how much news you actually need. I listened to a band named Drug Church, and there's always a line that I really like, which is, "Newsflash, I need news less."
I still haven't gotten. I have to get over the name first.
Most of the time, you don't need to know everything. When it happens, you're definitely going to know. Everyone is going to know.
A big part of my job is being at least tangentially aware of a very wide array of current events. And I cannot turn off the news. I have to at least be tangentially aware of what's going on roughly 24/7. And it got to the point earlier this year, at the beginning of the year, where I had physical consequences from that. I had like physical ailments related to stress from being plugged into the news all the time. It was a part of my job. I've managed it. The news has changed a bit since. It's not an issue anymore. But what I will say is, if you are not paid to do that for a living, you really need to not be doing that to yourself, because there's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
You do not need to be that informed. The other thing I'll say is just the more general question of optimism. I think, without respect to 2026, but just in general, we live in an age where we have found a cure for obesity. We went from a global pandemic to everyone's got a perfectly viable vaccine in their arm if they want it within 18 months, 24 months. I mean, unbelievable, right? Like the progress that has been made in so many areas over the past couple decades, whether it's renewable energy, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in just increasing economic complexity and therefore increasing standards of living. We were talking about cars on the timeline the other day, and there are actually people out there that think that modern cars, which will usually get you 200,000 miles and 15 plus years of service if you take care of them properly, are some sort of terrible, terrible equivalent of a 1990s vehicle. And I just y'all are out of your minds. The world is getting better on average in ups and downs over time. And it has for quite a while now, roughly the last 500 years. give or take.
It is not evenly distributed, but like
It's not, and it's not consistent either.
No.
It swings, right?
but
the line
it
go up.
does. It
Yep.
goes up and to the right in a very consistent way.
Yep, the line go up. And so as somebody, this is very, very, very visible in financial markets, right? Like if you look at long-term stock market returns, if you look at the long-term returns for stuff that is sort of a bet on human pessimism, it doesn't perform as well over long periods of time. It never will. And at the same time, you still see these huge spikes and drops. And that is not to say that the stock market perfectly represents society. But when it comes to psychology and when it comes to understanding that short term does not equal long term, that is the same, right? Like if you are going to take a long term view, there is no way you can argue the world is worse now than it was 30, 50, 100 years ago. There is no argument for that. At least none rooted in anything involving data, right? It's by vibes, you can argue whatever you want, but thankfully we have more advanced methods of determining reality than vibes. So I say all that to say, if you have that in your mind, then it can only get so bad on a given day, right?
Mhm.
This too shall pass. Not because it will by law of nature, but because human beings want to make the world a better place and are working very hard every day all over the world to do that. And you should do that too. You should work to make the world a better place too. And on those bad days, you should hope that the next day is in part a little bit less bad because of something you did on that bad day. And it probably will be. And 30 years from now, the world's going to be a better place than it is today. I am very confident of that. Which is to say, Woke 2 is back. We are back with the woke. And it is going to be so much more painful for the anti-woke people than the first round was. It's a vengeance campaign, baby.
Man, fuck woke too. We are iterating on stages of woke no one has perceived of yet.
Multi-dimensional planar woke mathematics.
I mean, shit. Like, I think that's very wise. And like, you can look anywhere you look, you will see some of this stuff. Is it universally good at any given point for any given topic? No. But like, take climate change, right? Like last year they made perovskite solar cells work. They have like an 18% efficiency rating and you can make them for basically nothing, right? Like they're going to roll out. They're going to make solar even cheaper than they already are. I think projections are 650 gigawatts next year, something like that. Like
American carbon emissions peaked 20 years ago. China has already peaked, and it's a one-way freight train from here.
Yeah. And it's just like not enough people are talking about it because it's not fun.
We
Like,
solved the technical problem. It was not clear that we were going to be able to solve the technical problem, and then whoops, we did it.
Yep. No, that's 100% correct. It's at this point entirely a political problem and a non-trivial one, but one that will be solved because market forces are going to overpower the politics within the next 5 years, I would say.
And like George said, COVID, same way, right? Like it turns out that solving that problem was just not as like titanic effort. Yeah, but like well within the capacity of human ingenuity and an alarming amount of productivity across all sectors in many countries. It's like, if that's not kind of the bedrock of how you look at the world, respectfully, you might be looking at it wrong. Now, we might all be wrong, but also like rolling that around isn't the worst thing in the world either.
All right.
Okay,
well,
but have you guys considered what the French under Stellantis have done to Jeep?
Next year, I'm sure you can spend even more.
the check is in the mail for low tax, working in yet another Jeep reference to the Normal Men podcast. And this is going to be it for us this year. I want to thank golikehellmachine for joining us on this mailbag episode. It's been super fun having you back, buddy. And we will do more of these in the future. And we hope you stop in to hang out with us once in a while in between. And I am just really thankful we got this thing off the ground this year. And we have been able to roll along with it and do what we've done. So, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. And to anyone listening, thanks, and hope you enjoy more as we head into 2026. So for Normal Men in Charlotte, I'm George.
In DC, I'm Proctor.
In outer Florida, I'm low tax speedrun enjoyer.
And in Boston, I'm Ed.
And I am golikehellmachine in Portland. And gentlemen, I have something for you as we make our way out of 2025.
Hell yeah, brother. Stay normal, y'all.
Pop in the
Right
bubbly.
on.
Happy New Year, everybody.